I mean, even though it was my second year hosting, that didn't make me any less nervous to be in a room with Beyoncé. It really didn't. I think we have a photo of me when she arrived. There I am, yeah.
Everything goes through several rounds of vetting. The Tonys was a very interesting experience because we spent so much time writing jokes and everything, and then, I mean, this isn't funny at all, but like the morning of the Tonys was the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. I mean, to go off on like a quick tangent, one of the weird things about working in late night right now, as opposed to probably sitcoms, is when there are these like tragedies on a national scope, you have to address them like on the show. And the amount of times we've had to write, like, rather than a jokey monologue, like James at the top of the show, like sitting there talking about like the gun issue and talking about how big of a tragedy everything is like staggering. We've had to write that so many times where you're like, it makes sense to like run out of ways to make fun of Donald Trump, right? You've taken every angle. At some point, every joke is like just it's a Dorito with a different dust on it. You know what I mean? But like to hit that same issue with like mass shootings is wild. To be like, all right, what angle are we going to take on it now? And like the last time it was just like, yo, this doesn't happen in other countries. We like can't keep doing this. And then the next one's going to happen. And what's the angle then? It's really wild. Yeah. So for the Tonys, like the morning of, we had to like scrap, jokes and stuff like that. And then like rejigger the show so that it was like, we could take this moment and have a little more seriousness to it and then go back to celebrating Hamilton or whatever. That was a big challenge. So that was kind of unique in that aspect. But as far as just like in general, vetting jokes for those shows, some of it is just like taste and thinking about who the room is. Like the Grammys, at least at the Oscars, everybody's kind of like paying attention. There are musical performances, but it's not like a big musical performance. Writing for the Grammys is crazy because you are doing comedy in between gigantic musical performances featuring some of the most like charismatic performers on the planet. Like as a stand-up comedian, doing stand-up like after a band has gone up is one of the worst things you can possibly do. Because it's like, they were just up there and like people were thrashing and dancing around and then you're like up there talking about like, how dating is weird or whatever. It's just such a vibe switch. So anymore, like, I mean, with writing for the Grammys, less of a content vetting thing and more of a picking your spots and trying to be as efficient as possible, which I think we did really well this year on the Grammys. Not having, James out there for like long swaths of time. But when he was out there, it was like we were funny. It was 30 seconds. Then we're out. Here's Bruno Mars. Our whole mandate was like, let's not make this. And this is coming from James, who's like a very smart, aware person. He's like, let's not make this the James Corden show. Let me steward the show and like kind of help move it along as much as possible.